Hi there, and welcome back to the CKM Red Rugby League channel. It is Tuesday. We are recording slightly later than usual, but that is not a problem. It does mean that now Sportsbet will have not cooked us on the market this week. It means that we can provide you with all those odds as well. As ever, I'm joined by Mr. Luke Jobson. How are you going, mate?
I'm good, mate. Apologies to everyone if this comes out a little late. The man who is unemployed out of the two of us is trying to get employed, so interviews are coming through. If anyone does want to hire me in the sports industry, by the way, hit us up. But I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you?
I am very good. I'm even better because this video is sponsored this week. We have teamed up with the guys over at RCR Nutrition. They are offering you guys 20% off when you use code CKM for all your nutritional products, all your proteins, all your pre-workouts. All you need to do is head to www.rcr-products.co.uk. Use code CKM. It helps us out and it helps you out too, because you get 20% off, ready to get your Australian summer body back on track. Or if you're in the UK, get fit just in time for Christmas, as ever. But we will, that's all by the by. Thanks again, RCR, and we'll jump straight into the team list then. Game one is an absolute corker. Two teams that could not be closely matched, and they are the Roosters and the Storm, both sitting in the top four, and both teams pretty much unchanged from the week before. Collins named at the 8, while Ria Hargreaves, of course, did miss out last week, but was named in the squad, so he's officially in the 8 jersey this time. Still no Kyle Flanagan, though. He is named in the reserves. Could potentially be bumped into the squad last minute. Who knows? Ryan Hall has just had his judiciary as well and managed to have his charge overturned. As for the Storm, they are pretty much unchanged. Just the big miss of Cameron Munster in the 6th shirt. Jack scores from 14 into 6. Hines moves from fullback into the 14 shirt, and Ryan Pappenhausen back into the fullback jersey. How are you thinking this one goes, mate?
Mate, it is a cracking way to start off round. What are we? Around 14 already. Crikey! Tell you what, post-COVID, it's gone quick. Yeah, look, this is tough. With how Lockie Lamb played last week, I don't think we're going to see Flanagan. First real game in about 2 years in the 7. Thought he played a fantastic game, a great support role there for Luke Keary. That combination will only get better as the season kind of pushes its way towards the finals. The forward pack still looking as good as ever. I called it last week. I said Lomax anytime try scorer. Again, I got the sides wrong. So at this point, I don't even know if I'm going to bother trying to tell you which side is going to be which, because apparently I don't know how to do that. But the Thursday Night King was at it again. Got you the 875 multi last week for Thursday night football. Look, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough for both sides. No Cameron Munster for the Storm. It's a huge loss. It's not discrediting Riley Jacks, a Canadian international, a very good player in his own right, but he's not Cameron Munster. He's not the game changer that Munster can and will be. I would not be surprised if we see Nico Hines come into the 6 and Jack's going back into the 14 to then potentially have Dale Finucane come off at about the 65th minute mark and see Hines go into that roaming lock role that is starting to very quickly become a huge factor in the NRL. In terms of a tip, well, you can go the $2.70 outsiders in the Storm, knowing that they don't have their hooker, or their gun hooker. They still have a wombat that's happy to burrow around from dummy half, and you know that you don't have their number 6 against a team who can be targeted on their flanks. They do have Josh Morris back this week, which should help out with their defense on the right side. I hope I've got that right. Now that they don't have Tupanua and Orbison playing in the centres, but you would still have to imagine that they're going to target Ryan Hall's side because he hasn't had a great time defensively for the Roosters. Mate, I don't know. I'm going to let you take first dibs on this one because I'm honestly at a crossroads. I don't know.
Oh, just throw me under that bus, why don't you? Okay. All right then. This is so hard to pick. I mean, when you go to the stats, Roosters 348 points, Storm 350 points scored. Roosters points conceded 174, Storm points conceded 162. Both completing at about 77, 76%. Both missing about as many tackles as each other. Average points scored 26 a game for both. Average points conceded 13 points a game to the Storm's 12. It is so hard to pick. I mean, the only thing that you realistically go for here is that the Roosters are a more complete squad right now. They're not missing as many key players. I say that while acknowledging the fact that they are missing players like Angus Crichton, Boyd Cordner, but they've still got the largest part of their spine intact, as well as just some fantastic forwards. Tupanua's just coming on leaps and bounds constantly. And I think that when you're coming up against the Storm, it's just going to be an up the guts kind of game. The Storm like to drag you into that arm wrestle, getting you caught up with players like Asafa Solomona, Faso Malawi, and Kenny Bromwich, Jesse Bromwich too. They just drag you into it and force you to play their way, basically. So I think there's not going to be a lot of points in this one. So I don't know what's the under over that Sportsbet are offering us.
It is, by the way, Sportsbet. If you want to sponsor us, please, we would love that. 37.5.
37.5. So I'd say take the under on that one and take either team 1-12 as well, just because they are so tightly packed by the numbers, both enjoying some big wins, but both of them taking the majority of their wins by quite a slim margin as well, especially against other top 4, top 5 teams. So I'm going to go with, I mean, if I'm going to be pressed for one team, I do fancy the Storm in this one. As an underdog tip, I'm going to say the Storm, but play it safe. Go either team 1-12 and back the under because there's not going to be a lot of points.
So, for those who are keeping track, and I would kind of hope that none of you are, because then I question what you're doing with yourselves. But it's 3-3. It is 3-3. We got it last week. We're happy here. Who was it? You took the Warriors, didn't you?
No, I took. So it was the Tigers and the Knights game was the only one that we deferred on.
That's it.
You were like, oh, I get first pick. I'm going Knights. I went, oh, you know what? I can't have another week of us just tying it up. I'm going to go Tigers. Did it for the meme. And the Tigers got royally spanked. I hope they brought the lube with them because otherwise that would have been painful. But yeah.
Mate, the Tigers well and truly became the meme.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm going the Roosters on this one. We're going different early on. As you said, the Roosters have the majority of their spine intact. And if they were decide to put Flanagan in over Lockie Lamb, it'd be like nothing has changed. No Munster out, I think, is going to impact how Pappenhausen plays. We saw how Nico Hines plays at the fullback role. We know he can play really well. I question how Bellyache will use him, and I question how Tom Eisenhuth, who, mind you, played a fantastic game at centre last week, will go up against, I believe it's going to be Josh Morris. We saw that he and Suli Vunivalu have a tendency to come charging in, as does the Fox. So I am going the Roosters on a 1-12. I think that I agree with you, Matty. It's going to be a tight game. But I've got the Roosters 1-12 at 275. And I find it very tough. It is tough for me right now to say with any confidence Ryan Hall is going to score. But if there's a week he's going to do it, it's going to be the week where both wingers are going to come screaming in and potentially, again, if the numbers line up right and if I have this right, coming up against Vunivalu, who is the right side winger for the Storm. going up against Hall on the left. If Sully charges in and Hall's just in the right spot, just a nice little lofted ball over the top, he'll go in the corner. He can get off the nudie run. So I'm going to say Roosters 1-12, paying $2.75, and Ryan Hall, anytime try scorer, at $2.37. If you multi them together, $6.50.
Sweet as. Right then, we'll get on to the next one. New Zealand Warriors take on the Penrith Panthers, and there's just if there's a team you don't want to come up against, it's Penrith. They are in the finest of form at the minute, and they don't look like slowing down either. They've got such an interchangeable squad that it seems that when injuries do occur, it doesn't faze them. And yet again, they go through a little bit of a reshuffle. It's worth noting that Dylan Edwards is named in the reserves. So pending a late fitness test, he may be back. But for the Warriors at the minute, they are unchanged from last week with the exception of no Jack Hetherington. He serves the first of a 4-game ban after that high shot on Marty Tapau against the Seagulls. He's replaced by Lachlan Burr in the 10 shirt, and Papali'i comes into the bench to replace him. The Panthers are just you can't look past the Panthers at all. Regardless of whether it's a small win or a big win, they just always seem to find a way. And when you've got a team that you can just chop and change left, right, and centre, it's ridiculous. I mean, Naden goes to the wing this week. Tyrone May named at centre again. Laurie's in the 14 shirt. You did have an inkling before we started recording that may change, though.
Yeah, look, Dane Laurie is a winger and a fullback by trade. We saw Aikens come off last week for Laurie to have his debut, and it's something that we see a lot of with Caleb Aikens. If he's in the one, there's always that utility back on the bench, because after about 65 minutes, Aikens comes down with cramps. So it's something that, you know, I'm not an exercise physiologist. I don't study anatomy. I don't know if there's something that he could potentially do to help himself out there, but there's potential for that. However, I think what we'll see is Tyrone May go to the bench, Brent Naden will move into the centres, and Laurie will go to the wing. Yeah, it's hard not to go past the Panthers here. I can't remember if I told you or Danon. I think even right now, I'd tip the Panthers over Parramatta with how Penrith are playing. You just can't not go against them. They're playing superbly. Luai is that fantastic support role for Nathan Cleary, who's just stepped up this season and then some. Their forward pack is just unstoppable. Billy Kickow, mate, I tell you what, if I was coming up against him last week when he was charging through for his try, I would have needed about 3 pairs of pants because I would have brown streaks coming through everywhere. It was disgusting how good their forward pack was last week. Leota, Leniu, Tedovano coming off the benches. It doesn't make things any easier when you look at the fact that they have, one, two, essentially, you know, for the most part, that forward pack is representative. I don't know if Isaiah Yo's played any rep games outside City Country earlier in his career. And Liam Martin, I think, has played youth rep. But when you have Kickout, Fisher Harris, Coruscant, Tamo as a forward pack, to then have Cleary at the 7, Luai, an international at the 6, Naden, Crichton, and Mansour coming at you with a utility man of May. I don't care who you are. You're pushing it. And as much as the Warriors have improved over the last couple of weeks, I just don't see it happen. And I know I say that every time, and then the upset happens. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. But I just don't see the Warriors getting close in this one.
I go down the same level of thinking as you, but I also think that every time we tip the Warriors to get blown out by a team, they find another gear. We did it earlier in the year when they faced off. It was 26-0. The time before that, though, was an 18-19 Penrith win. And I don't know. I just feel like the Warriors have got something in the tank. I'm definitely not tipping them, for sure, but I just don't think it's going to be a blowout. And these margins for both the Panthers and the Warriors are so hard to predict because sometimes the Panthers, their attack just won't click, but they'll still find a way to win. Or alternatively, the Warriors, their defense will just show up and just cause you absolute headaches. So I'm gonna go with a bit of a safety on this one. I'm gonna say take Panthers on the head-to-head, which I know there's not much value in, but then double that up with a Stephen Crichton anytime. The guy loves to get over. He knows where the line is, and he's no stranger. I think especially now Cleary's kicking game is just... Before, he only really had that long-distance kicking game in him and that high ball game, but he's just seemed to be better now at drilling it across the deck and holding it in the in-goal area, and that's where someone like Crichton absolutely thrives. So I'm gonna say Crichton gets over here. I'm gonna say you take Panthers on the head-to-head just as some sort of safety, because I mean the Warriors are just so unpredictable. They're rocks and diamonds when it comes to their defense and even their attack as well. So
paying a solid $1.80 for that one, Mr. Matthew. You're finding the value pick with that one, aren't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For those who are interested, Crichton is currently $1.62. Anytime try scorer. Panthers $1.12. Yeah, I mean, you can't not go the Panthers here. You'd be a very brave man to be going the Warriors, even though they've been playing pretty well at Gosford, the Central Coast. Their attack is rocks and diamonds, but their attack has been a lot better in the last couple of weeks than I think we've given them credit for. The over/under is 42.5, so I'm going to have a sneaky dig at that. At $1.90. Now, George Jennings, a former Parramatta, or I suppose still a current, on loan with the Warriors, has a tendency to be caught out on the wings. So if I go back to the team list and make sure I'm getting this right, he's going to be in the 5. I'm saying if what I think is right, and if what I think is going to happen will actually happen, Dane Laurie is currently $4.20 for an anytime try scorer. If he does play on the wing, now granted this is 9:47 on Tuesday night, so keep that in mind, but Dane Laurie at $4.20, if he does come on and start and play on the wing, that price is going to get smashed. So get in early. I think Laurie at $4.20 is a huge shout for an anytime try scorer at that price. I can't ignore it. Now, again, that could change if Dylan Edwards comes in. I also don't think that Edwards plays a full 80 minutes. If he does come in, I think I'll give him 60, give Laurie 20 at fullback to try and get himself a bit of a run. You honestly could multi that together. So if you're going for a multi, I'm going to say Penrith 13 plus into Laurie as an anytime try scorer, paying $5.25.
Some juicy value in there, I like that. Your bet certainly more risky than mine is. Mine's way safe. So I say that, but then again, the Warriors just time and time again just show up and ruin multis, and that's why I make a special rule of don't put Warriors on a multi ever. For against, over, don't do it. It's such a bad idea. But we have to provide a tip on these, so yeah, that's what we're going for.
I will say very quickly before we go into the next game, Eli Katoa has been in some really good try scoring form recently at $4.50. I think he comes up against Kickow, but the thing that I've known, and you could go Kickow $2.20 as well. The thing I want to point out is Kickow gets tired very quickly. Katoa can hustle, he can run, and he runs hard. So, assuming he pulls his finger out, unlike last week, and seeks the ball down his side, there's a chance that he could get inside Kickow with a little bit of a lazy arm and dive through from short. I am not suggesting this as a play, nor am I suggesting this as a multi. But if you go Panthers 13 plus, Dane Laurie, Eli Katoa, Billy Kickow, anytime try scorers, that's $52.50. So just one to keep in mind if you feel like chucking a cup of coffee on it.
That's an unofficial multi. It's a multi, but it's not a multi.
It is, if you so desire, here is something that may be worth, and I probably will put a cup of coffee on it. But I will not be lodging that for the record as an official tip for this week.
Okay, then. And with that, we will get on to the next one. The Parramatta Eels take on the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Rumours circulating online at the minute say that this could be Mary McGregor's last game as the head coach of the Dragons. Yeah, I know it came as a surprise to me as well. I didn't think that he would be one of the first out the door. But does that mean that the Dragons find another gear? I mean, they come up against an Eels side that welcome back one of their star forwards in Ryan Mattison. The Dragons go through yet another spinal change-up, and I don't know how this affects their play. So now you have Norman back from being dropped. He comes into the 6. Clune keeps the 7 shirt, Hunt into 9, McInnes into 13, and Saylor keeps the 14 jersey. Fuimiono comes off the bench and takes the 12 jersey. Of course, there's no Ford this week. He misses out after that trip. So he'll be a big loss for the Dragons, and they go for a bit more of a more mobile pack coming up against, let's just face it, a monstrous Eels pack. I don't think going mobility over size in this game is going to work out for them, to be honest.
The only way that will work out is if they target Sean Lane. Sean Lane is not the most mobile second rower. He's tall. He's 6'5", and 115. But he's not incredibly mobile. So potentially if they put someone like McInnes or if Lomax can get on the outside of Sean Lane, they're in with a shout. Very, very quickly, before we go into the analysis, how can I understand that the Dragons fans are calling for heads because of, we'll just say the past. Let's be real. It has not been a great tenure for Mary McGregor. But for the 3 games that they've lost in the past 3 weeks, you could argue that the Sharks game, if they don't get dudded by the bunker, they win, because that try that shouldn't have been a try changed the momentum of the game at the time. They are 8 points short, and again, maybe the scoreline flatters them a bit, but they were tied up at halftime against the South Sydney side who got back Latrell Mitchell and who just came up against Cody Walker, who stepped up and then some after Adam Reynolds went down. And then they come up against the 2-time current premiers are up. Well, I think they got the first try of the second half, didn't they? They were up 16-10.
Believe so.
And then the Roosters just did Roosters things. And there's now rumours that Mary's in trouble. Now, I know that I was a strong critic of him earlier in the season. I'm happy to say that my mind has changed. But I also think that he needs to pick a spine and sit with it, because this whole dropping yes, no, maybe, hello around the 6 and the 7 is not fun for anyone to watch. Now, Matt Duffy last week was a little MIA, but hopefully that's just a one-off for both him and my Supercoach team. But he, Clune, and Hunt, I'm not talking about Corey Norman at the moment because potentially Saylor comes in for him anyways. But those 3 really need to step up this week against arguably one of the premiership favourites this year. Para were very, very lucky to get the win last week in the breaststroke against the Sharks. It was not pretty watching. I'm kind of glad that I missed that game. But as you mentioned, they do get Ryan Mattison back, and you could argue that between Parramatta and the Panthers, both of those sides have the best forward pack in the comp at the moment. Again, you know where I'm going, Matt. I'm going Parramatta. There is no if, and, or but about it. I don't need to analyse why. This is just me being a biased Parramatta fan. But in terms of an actual tip, I'll let you go first on this one because I have an idea for a value bet, but I need to check its value first.
Okay, then. Yeah, so, I mean, it's an easy pick for me as well. Eels, I'm going to go 13 plus on that one. I'm not sure what the handicap is. Maybe some value in that if they give you it at evens. I mean, the Eels are impossible to look past in this one just because they've got such a dominant pack. Their backs are running the show basically off the back of the forwards laner platform, and their spine hasn't had to go through much of a change up. Whereas the Dragons, it's a new iteration of a spine every single week. You know, Dufty was dropped earlier in the season. He's now your first choice fullback. Norman dropped last week, but now he could be dropped again after being named in the six. Like, it's just it's the hokey cokey for Dragons fans at the minute. Players in, players out, and the spine just changes non-stop, and that just gives you no confidence. I mean, you're missing Paul Vaughan as well, so you lose some size there. It means you bring Josh Kerr back into the starting forward pack. You lose that impact of him coming on and really shaking up a forward pack. Ford as well, another big absentee. It just seems like the Eels forwards are going to run amok here. I can see that the Dragons are going to post points, but there's not going to be many. So I'd say take the Eels on the race to 20 points. The reason that I don't go for them on the race to 10 is because the Dragons have a habit of starting quickly and really busting out early. But I think that overall the Eels come out, take them on the race to 20, take them on a 13 plus. I'd say Mitch Moses, anytime try scorer as well. I think as some of those Dragons forwards get tired around the middle, Mitch Moses is going to come into his own and just pick up with that running game and break through.
Well, you kind of just stole my line of thinking there, you butt.
No.
Suppose I was due for that after stealing your thunder last week. Parramatta 13 plus at $2. Moses $4 anytime try scorer. The race to 20 at $1.49. If you feel ballsy and multi them all together, it's $6.50 for you, Mr. Wright. You kind of just stole my thunder there. I'm going to go Lomax anytime try scorer again. He's in a rich vein of form. It's hard to kind of pick one here in terms of a try scorer. You could go Sevo and Ferguson, whoever lines up against Ravalawa, and arguably whoever lines up against Sevo, I think will probably go in. Now, in saying that, it is projected to rain on Friday, and at 8 o'clock when the game starts, it is a 75% chance of rain. It's not meant to be heavy, but it's going to be rather annoying. And I mean, we saw last week what Parramatta play like when there's any sort of precipitation around. Never mind a shower or a pond for that matter. So I'm going to preface this by saying that this one's not an official tip, but if it's raining, the under is 40.5. I would hit it. If it's not, this game is going to be points galore. I would argue that the over is good value. Actually, not. Screw it. I'm going to take a risk. We're going to go over 40.5. Lomax anytime try scorer. You know what? Fergo's going to break the duck as well. Fergo, Lomax over 40.5. And if I add Parramatta just on the head-to-head, that's 10.25 for a multi. So that is what I'm going to throw in as my tip, and we're going to save a little bit of time at the end, Mr. Wright. I'm using this as my value tip of the week as well.
Yeah. There are only three certainties in life: death, taxes, and you tipping Lomax anytime try scorer.
Oh, come on. At 280, I cannot argue with that.
Okay, then I will. We'll get off that one then, and on to the next one. A bitterly disappointed Cronulla Sharks will take on the Gold Coast Titans. The Titans brimming with confidence, of course, after what some people are calling them now are the best team in Queensland. That's certainly the talk of what's going on in Titans fan groups, at least. The Sharks will feel absolutely gutted that they didn't see out their game against the Eels, although they did outscore them. The conversions were just not there, and the Eels taking the win there. So I'm seeing the Sharks being up for this one, and they definitely will want to be slowing down the Titans' momentum. The Sharks, they've re-signed Will Kennedy this morning as well. He's there for another year now. And the person that has been keeping him out the one shirt, Matt Moylan, is currently wearing 6 because there is still no Chad Townsend. The only other change is that Sorensen comes in and Wilton goes out. Other than that, Sharks are unchanged. Titans completely unchanged. For some reason, the Titans always do this, and it really annoys me. They swap their 15 and 16 shirt every week. So last week it was Wallace in the 15, Peachy in the 16. This week, Peachy in 15, Wallace in the 16. Stop it. You make it hard for me to update graphics. Stop, please.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the one that does the graphics. I tell you what, poor Britton Okora, a New Zealand international, currently sitting there twiddling his thumbs in the 19 jersey because Talakai is having an absolute barnstorming last month. The poor bugger is just, he's basically sitting there saying, look, if I don't get injured, I'm probably still in there. But Talakai is having a stunning last month in the 11 for the Sharks. Jack Williams comes in, not Scotty Sorensen. Sorensen actually started last week, Matthew.
Oh, blunder.
Nice one, Homer. Yeah, look, this is a little tougher to pick than I think the betting odds suggest. Now, last week with the Broncos game, I argued that they probably should have been closer to about 350, and sure enough, they came in by game time to be 350 on the nose. I would argue that the Titans, barring any injuries during training this week, should be closer to about the 325 mark. I think this will be a lot closer than the betting odds suggest. The line currently at 10.5 is juicy. However, there is no confident tip for me, if I'm being brutally honest, because every time I tip on a Titans game with any confidence, it bites me in the backside. That being said, I will say the Cronulla should get up. Just in general, they have the better roster. They have the better side. The forward pack, it's close. If Proctor plays like how he did last week, the forward pack it's going to be a tight battle. But I think that the Sharks just have too much quality. The Titans' spine, it'll be Brimson's third game, so he'll be starting to get a grasp of the pace of rugby league and creating that structure with Fogarty and Ash Taylor. But yeah, the Sharks, I think, just should. I say should because I'm not saying the certainty again, because knowing my luck, it'll bite me in the ass. But I would imagine that Sean Johnson is going to try and make amends for his kicking performance last week with a barnstorming performance this week. Yeah,
I can see the Sharks definitely getting up in this one. I can see there being a lot of points as well. What's the over-under on this one? I'm going to go probably the over if they offer anything over 39.5.
There is an alternative. I can pull that up. The set line at the moment is 43.5, and you're stealing my thunder because I thought that could be a shout.
This is what happens when you make me tip first all the time.
Oh, bite me. All right. Alternative match total 39.5 is $1.50.
$1.50, okay. I'd say you take the Sharks on that minus 10.5, and you take that as well. I'm not going to go for any try scorers in this one, just because the Sharks are so unpredictable with how they play. It depends. Are they going to feed Katoa down one side, or are they going to go the other side with Mulatalo? If I was to be pressed, I would say probably Mulatalo any time, but I'm not gonna officially tip that one. I just think that he's in a good vein of form. I think that he's got a few tries in him as well, especially against a Titans side that is struggling in and around the edges right now. So I'm going to go -10.5 on the Sharks and over 39.5 points, just because, the Sharks have always got points in them. The Titans are good for a couple tries as well, but I see that the Sharks they'll get into that rhythm where they're just busting up the middle, and it'll be all hell from there.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the same line of thinking. I will, of course. You say death taxes and me finding Lomax as an anytime try scorer. You might as well go death taxes and me just suggesting anytime try scorer, even with there being, anyone and anyone. I think that could go over. Let's see, go back to the team list. You got Brian Kelly and Dale Copley against Dugan and Ramian. It's pretty hard for me not to put Dugan in as an anytime try scorer. I am going Sharks on the head-to-head. But Dugan at $2.40, an anytime try scorer, I think he's due for a try. I don't see any reason as to why that shouldn't be this week. He'll look to, again, have a decent performance after a kind of meh performance last week. I do think that Anthony Don goes over as well. Don due, well, not even due. He's just in a good vein of form. And I think Katoa, if they do line up against each other, Katoa, while he has the size, Don has the speed, and, well, Don is good. So Don at 210, another good shout. I do want to suggest one more, but I can't find the market for it at the moment. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now. And then if I find it, I'll let you add it on the end graphic. But Sharks on the head-to-head, Dugan at 240, Don at 210. I didn't pull that up on a same-game multi, but I would assume that would be somewhere-ish around about $6, $6.75.
The North Queensland Cowboys, after last week's disappointment, take on the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and the Cowboys have gone through another change. Drinkwater is back, goes to the fullback role. Hampton in the 6, Morgan in the 7, Tabuai Fido moving out to the wing. Asiata, Granville, Perry, and Molo on the bench. Opacek keeps his spot in the centre. As for Souths, unchanged. They are looking good. They're travelling well. The Cowboys, not so much. And that is why I am going to tip the Cowboys this week. Yeah. We're going big players. Yeah.
Are you okay over there, mate?
I don't know. The heat in the UK has got to me. I'm not used to this.
Oh, the poor baby.
The reason for this, and I have been ripping myself in half on this one all day long. It is just such an unpredictable one. Souths are going well. They've got a strong side, but I just think after last week and losing to the Titans, the Cowboys come out firing for this one. In Townsville as well, they will be keen to impress, and I think Drinkwater at fullback is probably their best option besides their starting fullback of Valentine Holmes. Tabuai Fido, if you get him wide and on the wing, there's not a player on this earth that's going to catch him. While Souths are the favourites for this one, I think if there's going to be an upset this week, it's the Cowboys turning up, righting the wrongs of last week and getting the win there. I think Morgan has had a game back now, got that under his belt, shake off the cobwebs, and I think that he'll be steering them around the park well. Robson's been going absolutely fantastic at a hooker. Obviously, his opposite number of Damien Cook it's going to be hard to outdo him. I have this nagging feeling that the Cowboys win this one.
Mate, I'm not sure about that one. I'm going Bunnies. That's our second different one of the week. All right, screw it. I just don't see it happening. I'll say the magic words just so you can have the tie-up tip. While I agree that Drinkwater is the better option, I question why Ben Hampton is in the 6. You could argue that Hampton would almost be better off in the 1, Drinkwater in the 6. Neither of them overly good defensively. They still have Clifford in the 19. If they really need to, Asiata, who's named in the 15, can play and has played 5'8" for the Cowboys as recent as last year. And I don't know about that one. I think they're going to target Johnston in the air, the Cowboys, but what they'll lose out in that battle with Felt over there, they'll win in the centres with Lemuelu and Opacek going against Campbell Graham and Dane Gagai. And I don't know why. The gut's kind of churning a little bit on this one, but Cody Walker, I think, will just rip it this week. That's the best way to put it. I think he's just going to rip it. I think he might very well have the game of the season for him, which I know is hard after his performance 2 weeks ago. But he needs to prove after last week that he can not only just feed off Latrell, but he can feed off Adam Reynolds as well. Because the one thing that I've noticed with Walker when he does have Reynolds as I guess almost as the dominant playmaker is that Walker's more than happy just to catch and pass on that left flank, more so than try and create a play itself, unless it's within 10, 15 meters. I think he uses this week to try to break out of that. So I'm stealing the tips first this time because I already know for the most part what I'm going for. We're going for Souths, currently paying $1.35. I'm taking, now note this is a same game multi. All of these in a same game multi. If you want to tip them as singles, go for it. I'm going Souths on the line, which is currently at 7.5. I think they're going to absolutely destroy the Cowboys defense, which means I'm hitting the over at 41.5. And I'm going to go with 3 anytime try scorers here. Death taxes and me with anytime try scorers. Latrell Mitchell, Kyle Felt, and for a little bit of value, because I think he's due, Campbell Graham, paying $38.25 on a same game multi. If you need single odds, Felt 210, Mitchell 230, Cam Murray 340.
Okay, then I am going to go with the Cowboys on the line. So that plus 7.5 Cowboys. I'm going to go with that. I'm also going to go with. I need to think on this one. I don't fancy the over/under because I think this is going to be a tight game. I am going to say Ben Hampton anytime try scorer. I think that Hampton coming around the middle, just because he's not got a great passing game even as a half. He sometimes picks the wrong options. I think he'd be more inclined to back himself, especially from 10, 15 meters out. If he can get on that inside shoulder, then I think that he does go through. And I'm going to go. I'd take them as singles just because Ben Hampton is an outside shout. I'm going to say Cowboys, that plus 7.5. Hampton anytime. I don't know what the value is on that one, but I can imagine that it's pretty juicy.
650.
650. We like that 650.
Look, mate, I would argue that the multi is almost worth it there. 950 on Sportsbet. I do. Look, I'll say it very quickly. The last time the Cowboys won against South Sydney, there was a young fella by the name of Jonathan Thurston still in the side. The Bunnies have won the last 4 on the trot. I also do want to point out, and I don't have the current anytime try scorer stats because Sportsbet haven't offered them yet, but Cody Walker in 2 of the past 5 has been the first try scorer. So that is something I think to keep in mind.
Then we will move on to the next one. The Canberra Raiders take on the Brisbane Broncos. The Broncos have had a very up and down week off the field. Arguably, their off-field matches their on-field in 2020. It's just not pleasant viewing. The Raiders, on the other hand, are, they've got a very strong forward pack again. Bateman seems to be coming back to his best. He's causing a lot of problems. Curtis Scott seems to have had his early season woes put behind him. He's coming into a good vein of form as well. I mean, the Raiders, they're looking very good. The Broncos, without Tavita Pangai Jr. this week, obviously on COVID stand down. There's still no news on his future yet, but we will keep you updated on our socials when that does come up. Corey Pakes comes to the bench. Ben Teo takes his spot. TPJ's starting spot there. Ricky comes in as well, and then you've got Offa Ngawe and Lodge on the bench. It's a strong forward pack from the Broncos, but as we've seen, forward packs do not win you games.
No, they do not, especially when one of the hustle and bustle forwards that they have is now potentially, now granted these are rumours, but potentially without a club in Tavita Pangai Jr. It's not very pleasant viewing, I think, for Broncos fans, and we're not going to harp on too much about that or about the rumours surrounding that. But the Raiders coming off a bit of a disappointing performance against Penrith, 28-12. Nathan Cleary just decided to show up in the first half and then consolidate in the second. The Broncos, you can't tip them. You just really can't tip them at the moment. You can't tip anyone for any time try scorer. You can't tip a line because as we saw against Cronulla, they have the potential just to show up and blow everyone out. Blow everyone's multis out of the water. It's not trying to trash the Broncos or anything, but they're not going to have their coach for the next 2 weeks as he attended to a family emergency. They don't have their probably best second row. Well, their fittest second rower for Feeder. I wouldn't say is at full fitness yet. I'm amazed that they throw Ben Teo in starting instead of Offa Ngawe. Teo, I think, has been fantastic as an impact player coming off the bench, but to have him over Queensland origin second rower baffles me a little bit in the current form. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like beating a dead horse at the moment, no pun intended. They're just coming up against teams that are pushing for finals football, and the teams that are pushing for finals football are pushing through the Broncos. So, in terms of a tip, it's pretty easy, that one. I'm going the Raiders. If I've done my math right, 4 of the last 5 games that these two have played have gone 44 points or over. In fact, the last 2 games have been 26-22. If anyone is looking at an exact margin, the only time that it didn't go over 40 points, it was 13-12 at Suncorp in favour of the Broncos in 2017. So I'm going the Raiders. The over is 40.5. I'm eating that up at $1.90. I think that Bateman will get over at $3.40. If there's going to be a game where he gets over, it should be this one. He's been looking good. He looks strong. I think this is the game where he puts on just a little bit of footwork, potentially combining with Georgie Williams to send him through a gap from close range. George Williams at $4 isn't bad value, mind you, for the Raiders, but I'm just going to leave it at that for this one. Raiders over 40.5. John Bateman, anytime try scorer. You could make an argument as well for Katoni Staggs at $3.20.
So Staggs was my line of thinking for an anytime, but I don't think I'm going to touch that. My thought process behind the Broncos is if the club do so desperately, if he has lost his locker room basically, and the club do so desperately want him out, what better time to turn up than the 2 weeks that he's away and bag 2 wins and then basically go, there's your argument for not having him as your head coach anymore. That is what worries me about this. So I do think the Raiders are going to win. I do take that over that you've said there. I think there's going to be points, but I think it's going to be tight. So I'm going to go Raiders 1-12 on this with the over. I think the Broncos try their best to stick with them, but I think that the Raiders eventually just in that last 20 minutes put some points on.
Yeah, look, like I said, these games have gone over, and to your line of thinking, in the last 5 times that these teams have met, the highest margin's been 10 points. So, I think that's a strong argument for any for a 1-12. I do want to point out, mate, if you're thinking Stags, if we were to combine our two thoughts here, it's just a theory. Combine the Bateman, we throw in Stags, over 40.5, Raiders 1-12. That's paying $72 for a same game multi. The value is stonking on that one.
And with that, then we will get on to the next one. The Newcastle Knights were firing red hot last week against the West Tigers, and I don't expect anything different from them this week when they face a Seagulls side who are still without their star fullback, without their star prop now as well, with adding Fanua Blake. Matty Tapau, although he is named, will be racing the clock to get his HIA assessments done. Because it's 7-day turnaround as per protocol. So it will be a case of Tapau will be a last-minute inclusion if he does play at all, although named in the 10. Paseka comes into the 8 shirt to replace Fanua Blake. And Olakar Atu, I hope I've got his name right there. I apologise if I haven't. That's not in my native tongue, unfortunately. But the Seagulls are going to be doing it tough, although worth noting that they do welcome back Brad Parker into the centres. The Knights unchanged from the team that ran out last week, with the exception of Daniel Saifiti back into the squad. That bumps Jacob Saifiti to the bench, and that Knights pack is absolutely terrifying.
8, 9, 10, 11, 13, yes. If you said Guerra from 3 years ago when he was at the Roosters, I'd also say yes. You can make a very strong argument for Clemmer, the Saifiti twins, and SASA being one of, if not the strongest forward pack rotation in the competition. It's a huge in for the Knights to get Dan Saifiti back. But with that being said, Jacob Saifiti has been lights out for the Knights in the absence of his brother. So to have Jacob coming on after about 20 minutes for Dan, when you're going to have the likes of Tapau and Paseka starting to tire, it's going to be very, very daunting for Manly fans. Cade Cust, I thought played superbly last week. Tell you what, I'm not going with him on the anytime try scorer this week, but he got close a couple of times. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does get over this week. Manly, as you say, bringing back Brad Parker. I never thought, if you asked me 12 months ago if I thought Brad Parker in the 17 would be a welcome relief for any side, I would have laughed at you. But he's been fantastic this year for Manly. It does push Tavita Funa out of the side. Look, I think, again, this one is going to be a little bit closer than some would suggest. Manly are the $3 outsiders. I think they probably get into about 280 by kickoff. In terms of a tip, it's a bit tough, this one. I think that Kalen Ponga at even money for anytime try scorer is a very good shout. After last week's performance, I think that they'll have realised what they have to do to get him involved, playing off the back of Blakey Green, who's very much the control half now. So Ponga at $2, can't argue with that. You know what? Screw it. Cade Cust, I think he will scoot through. I think he played well last week. He kind of plays and reminds me a little bit of Dylan Walker, in terms of, it takes a little bit to get into it, but once he gets into it, he is flying out of the blocks. Cust at $5 is some cheeky value, as is Daly Cherry Evans, if you do want to go one or the other. In terms of any other tips, 4 out of the last 5 games have gone under 36 between the two. Granted, Manly's defense has been a little turnstile-esque this year. So it does make choosing one or the other a little tougher. The point, is at 39.5. I won't touch that. I will go Newcastle on the 7.5 line.
Okay then. You see, I go the opposite on that. I say that goes for under. I think that based on how Newcastle played last week, the Sea Eagles spend a lot of time this week working on their defence, making sure that they're shutting down Ponga out the back, who, to be honest, had it way too easy. They made Ponga look like a $2 million player rather than a $1 million. You know, just the way that he was able just to pop up on the inside, and there was you could have driven a bus through some of those gaps without scraping a player. So it's just, I think the Sea Eagles come out this week. They come out more defensively minded. I do back the under 39.5, and I do think that the Knights win this. And I think that Daniel Saifiti gets over. I think he wants to wake up for a little bit of lost time here. He was in. He's had a few tries this season. He's not usually a try scorer, but I see Daniel coming back, making some big runs up the middle, making up for lost time, and even bagging himself one there as well. Because I think the Sea Eagles on the edges. I mean, the Knights got a few on their edges last week, but I can see that they're looking to utilise that star-packed forward pack and just get them rumbling through the middle. And I think that Saifiti in a hit-up goes through and grounds that ball. So I'm going to go with that and the under 39.5 as well, just because I think that both of these teams are still in and around the base of the 8. They've both got a bit of a point to prove. They're both trying desperately with that chasing pack closing now to hang on to that spot, those bottom parts of the 8 spots. So I think that this one's tight, and I think that the Knights edge it with a Daniel Saifiti try, but it's under 39.5.
14.25 for you, Mr. Matthew. If you go the under in DSAF, 17.50. If you add the Knights to it, I'll point this one out to you. I don't think it'll sway how you go with this, but currently the Eels, the Sea Eagles, are a game outside the 8 with a minus 48 points differential. If I can do the math, and Lord knows I can't do that, it's about a 96 point differential between them and the 8th place Sharks. The Sharks and the Bunnies, we both have, I have the Bunnies, you have the Cowboys, but if both of those win this week and the Knights win as well, there is a strong possibility that the 8 will be set in stone with 5 rounds to go. So I don't know if that changes it, but I think the Sea Eagles have a lot to play for, knowing that if they lose this one, there is a distinct possibility that they're 2 games out of the 8 with a points differential that is not screaming finals football either.
Yeah, I'm still going to back that under just because I think it's going to be tight. I think that it's going to be something like an 18-16, something like that. It's, earlier in the year, obviously, the Sea Eagles, we've seen that they can get their get square when they felt robbed. Bradman Best with the push in the back earlier in the year. The Sea Eagles want their get square there. So I think they keep this one tight, but I think that the Knights have just got that little bit more quality about them, especially in the forwards, just to take the win here.
All righty. Well, with that being said, let's roll on forward to the matinee game on Sunday. So,
round 14 is closed out with the Tigers versus the Bulldogs just before we do get into this game. I think I share the same view as everybody else, and that Fox Sports went a little bit overkill on the Adam Dewey situation last week. He was obviously a player in a little bit of turmoil off the back of events in Lebanon, and he was feeling the effects of that to the point where emotions spilled out onto the pitch post-game, and he was absolutely inconsolable. I just think that following him around for 4 minutes talking about how much he's struggling is just really bad taste, to be honest, and I hope to see less of it. They did the same thing with Latrell Mitchell. when he was upset in the locker rooms and then proceeded to make the entire post-game coverage about reasons why Latrell Mitchell could be upset. The game needs to offer players some privacy, and I don't think filming them when you can see them at their lowest point is the way to go.
You know what? You make a great point. I knowingly have to bite my tongue a little bit because I am, I want to work in the sports industry, so I can't be bashing every sports broadcaster there is out there. But you are right. But
right then, so now we will get into the actual analysis of the game. I mean, the Tigers have gone for another shift up. Mbai is back into the centre after the 9 experiment failed absolutely awfully. On a positive, though, Jacob Liddell is back for his first game in over 12 months after that dreaded ACL injury claimed his season, and the rehabilitation has took 12 months to get him back to this position. So congratulations. Enjoy every minute that you're out on the field, and welcome back to the game. As for the Tigers, it's another shift up. Garner comes back into the second row. McIntyre on the bench with Reynolds as well. McKaylee, Lawrence, no Sean Bloor this week. It's just another big change up for them, and you'd hope to see an improved Tigers side this week.
Oh, you absolutely hope so. They've got a point to prove after last week, and we spoke in the last preview about how Manly are struggling. The Tigers have the better points differential. They've got a plus 12. It's the only side outside the 8 that does have a positive points differential, but they're also 2 games out of the 8 at the moment. They need to win and win a lot from here on out. That being said, I wouldn't mind being able to sing that the Tigers are 9th again. You look at their draw coming up. Obviously, they've got the Dogs this week. I've got them going up in this one. I hope they get up in this one. But again, it's impossible to tell. They've got the Roosters next week, the Panthers in 2 weeks' time. They go to Brookvale to play against Manly. Round 18, they play the Bunnies. They play the Storm in round 19, and then in round 20, they finish off against Parramatta. That is what? 5 top 8 teams in the that might even be 5 top 6 teams in the final 6 weeks. Bunnies are 7th. Who else did I say? Panthers first. Storm. They play the top 4 teams with the Bunnies and the Dogs. They need this win, and they need results to go their way. The Tigers have to come out firing. Jacob Liddell coming back will provide a little bit of structure going into the 9. He is an out-and-out hooker. He's not the Moses Mbai utility man that can just float around and do whatever, although it is handy to have him in that side. But I don't know. The Dogs very well could come out with Jackie Cogger coming into the 7 to partner with Kieran Foran. Garrett Holland in the centres doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence. He's not the best of players to have coming in. I would argue that you could go Remus Smith into the centre. I didn't think he played that badly, all things considered, against the Storm. Aiden Tolman's still sitting on the bench. That one, I don't know why, because I think Tolman's one of their best players. But, yeah, I'm going the Tigers this week. I'll let you take the first dibs on tips, but I definitely have the Tigers getting up here.
Yeah, and I think to the Tigers as well, I think there's a couple of players who are very lucky to still have a Tigers shirt this week. Joey Leilua being one of them. I said last week he had a point to prove, and he did not prove it at all. Didn't come looking for work, threw some silly passes, made some bad decisions. Benji Marshall, awful defensively. I think the Bulldogs will really exploit him if he's still there when it comes to game day. I have a sneaking suspicion, based on media rumours earlier in the week, that Luke Thompson is, quote, not happy at the Bulldogs, that he comes out firing. And I hate when people do that. I hate when media outlets go, team not performing well, just made signing. Okay, we will just say that player's not happy. So Luke Thompson, he's not. You know what? Luke Thompson hasn't replicated his Super League form in, let's be honest, in more tough competition in the NRL. So I see Luke Thompson having a big game. I see Luke Thompson maybe getting over for a try here. So that is going to be my absolute outside shout for this week. I see Luke Thompson going over on an any time. I think you take the Tigers in this one as well. What's the line that they're offering on the Tigers?
7.5.
7.5. Take the Tigers on the 7.5. I am slightly reluctant on that one just because I know that the Bulldogs can be very tough in defence. We've seen it in a few performances of late, but I think the Tigers, with basically the shambles of last week, have to post points, have to impress, and I can see the Bulldogs unfortunately falling victim to that. So outside shout, Thompson anytime, take the Tigers on the line, and that's going to be mine for that. I'm not going to tip anything else on this one just because I think it has the opportunity to absolutely ruin your weekend.
Yeah, it's I tell you what, mate, 20.75 just for those two legs. You'd be jumping for joy if that one got up. I have absolutely no confidence in tipping in this one. I'm looking, I'm seeing not much. I think I ended up saying Leilua last week for a try.
No, I went Joey Leilua. I think
you went Joey.
Yeah.
Look, I'm gonna say Joey Leilua anytime try scorer. I don't have a lot of confidence saying that, but going off your point, he has a point to prove, and I don't know if he has a jersey next week if he doesn't score. So potentially coming up against Kerrod Holland, who's a bit of a turnstile in defence. If Joey can get rolling, he's an absolute shout. Luciano at $3.10 is also a shout. So I'm not going to put him on the tipping sheet. However, I do think that if he's the one, or if it's his side that lines up against Holland, Luciano at 3.10 is a shout.
Yeah.
I'm going to join you on the Tigers 7.5, but that's going to be it for me on this one. It's not a game that I can give some confident tips on. If you do multi those two together, 4.20.
Yeah. Well, okay, I think that's going to do it there then. As always, gamble responsibly. Anything you are prepared to stake, you are prepared to lose, just bear that in mind. Also, a massive thank you to our sponsors again, RCR Nutrition. Check them out. Head over to their website, www.rcr-products.co.uk. Using code CKM to get 20% off your order. Go check them out. Go show them some love as well as they are helping the channel out. As ever, if you did enjoy this, leave a like, subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date. And as ever, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you for the next one.